बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आई होप यू विल बी फाइन। अगर आप अपनी बेसिक इंग्लिश को बेहतर करना चाहते हैं और कम्पिटिटिव एग्ज़ाम की तैयारी का इरादा रखते हैं और अपनी बेसिक इंग्लिश को बेहतर करना चाहते हैं और इंटरटेनमेंट और लर्निंग को साथ साथ रखना चाहते हैं तो हमारी ये सीरीज़ को लाजमी फॉलो कीजिए। लर्न इंग्लिश थ्रू स्टोरीज। जब आप स्टोरी पढ़ते हैं तो एक तो आपका इंटरेस्ट डेवलप होता है, इसके साथ साथ कुछ अनफेमिलियर वर्ड होते हैं जो आपकी नज़रों के सामने से गुजरते हैं और फिर आप उसका कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर करने की कोशिश करते हैं। ये जो सीरीज़ है इसमें हम स्टोरीज़ को रीड कर रहे हैं चैप्टर वाइज। हमारे पास जो अभी स्टोरी जो चल रही है उसका नाम है द सीक्रेट गार्डन और इसके टोटल 8 चैप्टर हैं और इसमें से सॉरी आठ आठ चैप्टर हैं। तो इसमें हम जो है वो पहला चैप्टर जो है वो पिछले वीडियो में रीड कर चुके हैं। आई होप कि आप लोगों ने अपना होमवर्क जो है वो कंप्लीट किया होगा। जो लोग पहली दफ़ा मेरी इस वीडियो को सुन रहे हैं तो उनको मैं बताती चलूँ कि हमने एक सीरीज स्टार्ट की है लर्न इंग्लिश थ्रू स्टोरीज। उन लोगों के लिए जो अपने बेसिक इंग्लिश को बेहतर करना चाहते हैं तो ये इस सीरीज़ की आज जो है वो 5वीं वीडियो है। तो आपको चाहिए कि मेरे चैनल पर जाएं, प्लेलिस्ट में जाएं और वहां पर लर्न इंग्लिश थ्रू स्टोरीज़ की प्लेलिस्ट को ओपन करें और उसकी पांचों जो है वीडियोस जो है वो लाजमी देखें। इसके अलावा उस प्लेलिस्ट का जो लिंक है वो आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन में भी मिल जाएगा। और अगर आप जो स्टोरीज़ की जो पीडीएफ हासिल करना चाहते हैं तो उसका लिंक भी जो है वो डिस्क्रिप्शन में मौजूद है। आज की जो है स्टोरी का दूसरा चैप्टर जो है वो स्टार्ट करते हैं जिसका नाम है द सीक्रेट गार्डन। मुझे पता है जो लोग पहले इस स्टोरी को सुन चुके हैं वो बड़े बेताब होंगे कि नेक्स्ट चैप्टर में क्या होने वाला है। तो चलिए देखते हैं। चैप्टर नंबर 2, मैरी इन यॉर्कशायर। They arrived at a very large old house. It looked dark and unfriendly from the outside. Inside, Mary looked around the big, shadowy hall and felt very small and lost. They went straight upstairs. Mary was shown to a room where there was a warm fire and food on the table. "This is your room," said Miss Medlock. "Go to bed when you have had some supper. And remember, you must stay in your room. Miss Craven does not want you to wander all over the house." When Mary woke up the next morning, she saw a young servant girl cleaning the fireplace. The room seemed dark and rather strange, with pictures of dogs and horses and ladies on the walls. It was not a childish room at all. From the window she could not see any trees or houses, only wild land, which looked like a kind of purple sea. "Who are you?" she asked the servant coldly. "Martha, miss," answered the girl with a smile. "And what's that outside?" Mary continued. "That's the moor," smiled Martha. "Do you like it?" "No," replied Mary immediately. "I hate it." "That's because you don't know it. You will like it. I love it. It's lovely in spring and summer when there are flowers. It always smells so sweet. The air's so fresh and the birds sing so beautifully. I never want to leave the moor." Mary was feeling very bad-tempered. "You are a strange servant," she said. "In India, we don't have conversation with servants. We give orders and they obey, and that's it." Martha did not seem to mind Mary's crossness. "I know I talk too much," she laughed. "Are you going to be my servant?" asked Mary. "Well, not really. I work for Miss Medlock. I'm going to clean your room and bring you your food. But you won't need a servant except for those things. But who's going to dress me?" Martha stopped cleaning and stared at Mary. That Kana dress this? She asked, shocked. What do you mean? I don't understand your language. Oh, I forgot. We all speak the Yorkshire dialect here, but of course you don't understand the. I meant to say, can't you put on your own cloth? Of course, not my servant always used to dress me. Well, I think you should learn to dress yourself. My mother always says people should be able to take care of themselves even if they are rich and important. Little Miss Mary was furious with Martha. It's different in India, where I come from. You don't know anything about India or about servant or about anything. She could not explain what she meant. Suddenly she felt very confused and lonely. She threw herself down on the bed and started crying wildly. No, no, don't cry like that, Martha said gently. I'm very sorry. You're right. I don't know anything about anything. Please stop crying, miss. She sounded kind and friendly, and Mary began to feel better and soon stopped crying. Martha went on talking as she finished her cleaning, but Mary looked out of the window in a bored way and pretended not to listen. I have got 11 brothers and sisters. You know, miss, there's not much money in our house, and they all eat so much food. Mother says it's the good fresh air on the moor that makes them so hungry. My brother Deacon is always out on the moor. He's 12 and he's got a horse which he rides sometimes. Where did he get it? Asked Mary. She had always wanted an animal of her own, and so she began to feel a little interest in Deacon. Oh, it's a wild horse, but he's a kind boy. And animals like him. You see, now you must have your breakfast, miss. Here it is on the table. I don't want it, said Mary. I'm not hungry. What? Cried Martha. My little brothers and sister would eat all this in 5 minutes. Why? Asked Mary coldly. Because they don't get enough to eat. That's why, and they are always hungry. You are very lucky to have the food, miss. Mary said nothing, but she drank some tea and ate a little bread. Now put a coat on and run outside to play, said Martha. It will do you good to be in the fresh air. Mary looked out of the window at the cold grey sky. Why should I go out on a day like this? She asked. Well, there's nothing to play with indoors, is there? Mary realized Martha was right. But who will go with me? She said. Martha stared at her. Nobody. You will have to learn to play by yourself. Deacon plays by himself on the moors for hours with the wild birds and the sheep and the other animals. She looked away for a moment. Perhaps I shouldn't tell you this, but one of the walled gardens is locked up. Nobody's been in it 14 years. It was Miss Craven's garden, and when she died so suddenly, Miss Craven locked it and buried the key. Oh, I must go. I can hear Miss Medlock's bell ringing for me. Mary went downstairs and wandered through the great empty garden. Many of the fruit and vegetable gardens had walls round them, but there were no locked doors. She saw an old man digging in one of the vegetable gardens, but he looked cross and unfriendly, so she walked on. How ugly it all looks in winter, she thought, but what a mystery the locked garden is. Why did my uncle bury the key? If he loved his wife, why did he hate her garden? Perhaps I will never know. I don't suppose I will like him if I ever meet him, and he won't like me, so I won't be able to ask him. Just then she noticed a robin singing to her from a tree on the other side of a wall. I think that tree is in the secret garden, she told herself. There's an extra wall here, and there's no way in. She went back to where the gardener was digging and spoke to him. At first he answered in a very bad-tempered way, but suddenly the robin flew down near them and the old man began to smile. He looked a different person then, and Mary thought how much nicer people looked when they smiled. The gardener spoke gently to the robin, and the pretty little bird hopped on the ground near them. "He is my friend, he is," said the old man. "There are not any other robins in the garden, so he is a bit lonely." He spoke in strong Yorkshire dialect, so Mary had to listen carefully to understand him. She looked very hard at the robin. "I'm lonely too," she said. She had not realized this before. "What's your name?" she asked the gardener. "Ben Weatherstaff. I'm lonely myself. The robin's my only friend. You see, I have not got any friends at all," said Mary. "Yorkshire people always say what they are thinking, and old Ben was a Yorkshire moorman. "We are alike, you and me," he told Mary. "We are not pretty to look at, and we are both very disagreeable." Nobody had ever said this to Mary before. "Am I really as ugly and disagreeable as Ben?" she wondered. Suddenly the robin flew to a tree near Mary and started singing to her. Ben laughed loudly. "Well," he said, "he wants to be your friend." "Oh, would you please to my friend?" she whispered to the robin. She spoke in a soft, quiet voice, and old Ben looked at her in surprise. "You said that really nicely," he said. "You sound like Dickon when he talks to animals on the moor." "Do you know Dickon?" asked Mary, but just then the robin flew away. "Oh, look! He's flown into the garden with no door. Please, Ben, how can I get into it?" Ben stopped smiling and picked up his pad. "You can't, and that's that. It's not your business. Nobody can find the door. Run away and play, will you? I must get on with my work." And he walked away. He did not even say goodbye. In the next few days, Mary spent almost all her time in the garden. The fresh air from the moor made her hungry, and she was becoming stronger and healthier. One day she noticed the robin again. He was on top of a wall, singing to her. "Good morning, is not this one? Come this way," he seemed to say as he hopped along the wall. Mary began to laugh as she danced along beside him. "I know the secret gardens on the other side of this wall," she thought excitedly, "and the robin lives there. But where's the door?" That evening she asked Martha to stay and talk to her beside the fire after supper. They could hear the wind blowing round the old house, but the room was warm and comfortable. "Mary, only had one idea in her head. Tell me about the secret garden, she said. Well, all right then, miss, but we are not supposed to talk about. You know, it was Miss Craven's favorite garden, and she and Miss Craven used to take care of it themselves. They spent hours there reading and talking. Very happy they were. They used the branch of an old tree as a seat. But one day, when she was sitting on the branch, it broke and she fell. She was very badly hurt, and the next day she died. That's why he hates the garden so much and will not let anyone go in there. How sad, said Mary, poor Mr. Craven. It was the first time that she had ever felt sorry for anyone. Just then, as she was listening to the wind outside, she heard another noise in the house. Can you hear a child crying? She asked Martha. Martha looked confused. No, she replied. No, I think it must be the wind. But at that moment, the wind blew opened their door and they heard the crying very clearly. Cried Mary at once. Martha shut the door. It was the wine, she repeated, but she did not speak in her usual natural way, and Mary did not believe her. The next day it was very rainy, so Mary did not go out. Instead, she decided to wander round the house, looking into some of the 100 rooms that Miss Medlock had told her about. She spent all morning going in and out of dark, silent rooms, which were full of heavy furniture and old pictures. She saw no servant at all, and was on her way back to her room for lunch when she heard a cry. It's a bit like the cry that I heard last night, she thought. Just then housekeeper Miss Medlock appeared with her keys in her hand. What are you doing here? She asked crossly. I did not know which way to go, and I heard someone crying, answered Mary. You did not hear anything. Go back to your room now, and if you don't stay there, I will lock you in. Mary hated Miss Medlock for this. There was someone crying. I know there was, she said to herself, but I will discover who it is soon. She was almost beginning to enjoy herself in Yorkshire. जी, तो अगर आपने आज की स्टोरी की इस चैप्टर को एंजॉय किया है और आप मेरी इस वीडियो सीरीज़ को जो है वो पसंद कर रहे हैं, तो मेरे चैनल को लास्ट में सब्सक्राइब कीजिए, ताकि जो बाकी भी चैप्टर्स की जो वीडियोस हैं वो जैसे मैं अपलोड करूँ तो उसका नोटिफिकेशन आपको पहुंच जाए और आप भी इंग्लिश को जो है बेसिक इंग्लिश को बेहतर कर सकें और फर इंग्लिश बोल सकें। और अपने कम्पिटिटिव एग्ज़ाम की तैयारी बहुत अच्छे तरीके से कर सकें। आज की इस वीडियो को यकीनन आपने लाइक किया होगा और नेक्स्ट वीडियो का भी आप इंतज़ार करें, क्योंकि उसमें हम बाकी चैप्टर्स को रीड करने वाले हैं। लेकिन अपना होमवर्क आपने नहीं भूलना, अपने वर्ब को फाइंड करना है, अनफेमिलियर वर्ड के कॉन्सेप्ट को क्लियर करना है, एक पैराग्राफ लिखना है और उस पैराग्राफ में उन वर्ड्स को यूज़ करना है जो आपने उसमें से फाइंड किए हुए होंगे और आपने देखना है कि आपने अभी तक इस स्टोरी से क्या लर्न किया है और आप उसको मुझे ईमेल कर सकते हैं। उसमें जो भी आपकी इंग्लिश की गलती होंगी मैं वो उसको जो है वो चेक करूँगी और फिर आपको अपडेट करूँगी। ईमेल जो है वो डिस्क्रिप्शन में मौजूद है, बिकॉज आई लव टू रीड योर ईमेल। और जैसे जैसे मुझे पता चलता जाएगा कि आप मेरी सीरीज़ से कुछ सीख रहे हैं तो मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा मोटिवेशन मिलेगी और मैं इस तरह की और भी अच्छी वीडियोस जो है वो लेकर आपके सामने हाजिर होंगी। तो तब तक के लिए मुझे दीजिए इजाज़त। अल्लाह हाफिज़।